Test, test, check 1, 2. You know you need unique New York. You know you need unique New York. Does that sound all right? Ah, that's better. You can always tell something's missing when you get isolated results. Like AI that's only right for one of your systems. Get AI that can work across your data and applications. Learn more at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Finding a new job is stressful. But with Indeed, it doesn't have to be. Just fill out your Indeed profile with your skills, experience, and desired salary. The more you fill out, the better your matches will be. And hearing from hiring managers will be 2 times more likely. Relax. That's your Indeed profile sending opportunities your way. Indeed, the world can work better.
Mega is an improvised satire from the staff of a fictional megachurch.
We are here, the Lord, we are here, and we're ready to podcast.
Hiya, I'm Halle Levant, and this is Mega, coming to you from Twin Hills Community Church, where every week we're giving our mega church a tiny family feel. We love introducing you to members of our church staff, people from our community. Ooh, I always find it to be a treat and a treasure. And per usual, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the youth pastor for our high school ministry called Climax. Welcome, Gray Haas.
Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, Halle, and by thee, I mean he, and he is lit right now, isn't it, Halle, with all this amazing holiday celebration?
He is so lit. He's lit up like that Christmas vacation house that had the lights all over it.
I've never seen that, but I am so excited to be here. We're recording this live in a live stream, and we've got amazing recommendations from our Patreon supporters. And it is going to be just so fun to get into it with you all.
Well, first I wanted to ask, and I also wanted to apologize ahead of time because I have an earworm. Do you know what that is? Do you have earworms in Australia?
Yes, I think I had an Uncle Nevis who actually caught an earworm, and for a while that was what the doctors thought made him go basically insane. At one point, he thought that he could attach pieces of a motorcycle to his body and drive around as if he was Pat Motorcycle. He called it a moto-tour, like a centaur, which an abomination just to even think about that. But they blamed it on some kind of worm that crawled into his ear, slowly started laying eggs, and it made him go mad.
Wow.
So yes, I have heard about that. Is that what you're talking about, Halle?
Well, that sounds like our Minister of Health, RFK. He had a brainworm. And look,
did he?
He's fine. He's still a billionaire.
And he won. What are you talking about,
We only want
Halle?
billionaires and millionaires in charge,
Yeah.
so that everything can be run like a business. Because you know what? Corporate America is doing great. They get labor for free, and all the shareholders make all the money. It's cool. Maybe that'll happen in the government.
Well, we do run Twin Hills like a business, and we are in the business of Christ. And I think a lot of people forget that the reason that we are so effective is because Steve is essentially like a spiritual CEO, isn't he?
Yeah, but the awesome thing about Steve is that he could make so much money. He could be like these billionaires like Musk and all these guys because he has so many books that are bestsellers. He, leads all these awesome conferences. There is a world in which he could be wildly wealthy. But you know what? As the whole church knows, he restricts his salary.
Does he?
Yeah, and he only makes a certain amount every year because
that's awesome.
He wants people to know that he is not in it for the money. This is solely about snatching people out of the grips of hell and getting them to the gates of heaven where their name's going to be what? it's going to be on the list.
Isn't that great?
My earworm is, "Oh, little town of Bethlehem, all still we see thee lie." I can't stop singing it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of a completely different thing. You're just talking about a song that gets in your head.
Isn't that what an earworm is?
Oh, no. I'm actually talking about a physical worm that crawled into the ear of my uncle and made him go
those are called
crazy.
Earwigs, and they have pincers on the back of their butt.
That might be it, because when they did an X-ray, they said it looked like the worm was sort of like at the controls of his brain. Just, that's how they described it to us, using those little things, and they just kind of driving him around.
I mean, it happens every day. But I just wanted to say, if I start breaking into, "Oh, little town."
Why are you singing it like that, Halle, though?
Well, because, if you listen to the notes and the melodic quality, it's so joyful. Isn't that?
Is it?
I can't stop. Forgive me. Saw me in half. Well, anyway, I thought we could start with hearing whether or not Australian Christmases are way different than Christmases here in, God's country, America. I mean, the whole country shuts down and we stop to honor the fact that, God impregnated this awesome teen and, she had a baby in a barn and, we got to hit the mall about it. What do you do in Australia?
Well, it's a bit different in Australia, Halle, because did you know that December is right in the middle of our summer? So,
oh my gosh, so everyone's hitting the beach?
Everyone is hitting the beach.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of times we'll do, instead of a Christmas Eve service, it will be on a sand volleyball court. We won't do it in a church with all the, the snow and everything that we do here. We'll be out on the beach. A lot of times it'll be some kind of beach-based tournament. We'll play bags. We'll play, the one where you all stand around a little trampoline and hit a ball into it. I forget what that one's called, but so that's different. It's very summery. It feels almost like 4th of July.
Oh, cool.
The baby Jesus is often portrayed in a manger, but the nativity, the creche, it's all sort of beach-based animals with a lot of sand. A camel might have sunglasses, which is cool. And so I think that sometimes was hard for me to get into the spirit of this kind of cold Christmas season because, in Australia, Santa rides a surfboard.
Is that right?
Yeah, he doesn't have a sleigh, and it's pulled by iguanas.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities, so do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen Report.
Now, do Christians in Australia, celebrate the birth of Christ in a similar way to us?
They do, but
like, do you put up a nativity scene? Do you put up a Jesus and Mary in a manger in the front yard that, has a whole generated, blower machine to keep them inflated?
Well, it's blowing sand.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
So we blow sand. We don't blow snow. People will cover their yards in sand.
Oh, cool.
It just feels like a more of a summery thing. We roll out the barbie. We just, really make it a celebration of summer and Christ specifically.
Man, that is so cool. And did you? I know you're still having to crash at your buddy's house, Clay Mason Bannerman. What's wrong?
I just don't even know what to. I don't know if I should get into this right now, Halle, but I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before. But my friend Clay Mason Bannerman has this neighbor. His name is Donovan Gio. Well, last night we were coming down the street, and it was just a sheet of black ice.
Oh no!
And Clay right now is driving a Cybertruck that he's leased, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
And it's become
How do those do in the snow?
Oh, they do great, except for if it's snow on the road, it can be a bit touch and go. And so as we're coming down the street, the wheels start to spin, and I'm like, where's all this water coming from all over the street? Because usually the plows and with the salt and the plows, they're on top of it. Apparently, Donovan Gio's also got a Cybertruck. It's bright pink. He ripped out the back of it, put in a jacuzzi, and he's driving it around the neighborhood with a bunch of guys in the back, and it's just sloshing water everywhere. It's absolutely frozen the entire cul-de-sac. And we were like, guys, you can't be doing... I'm also like, why do you have a Cybertruck? Your parents invented the Gio. Shouldn't you be driving... He should be driving a Gio. Yeah. He said he actually is contractually obligated to drive a Gio when he was born, but he's trying to fight his parents on that. And I was like, I don't want to get into the story of of all that.
Do they make Gios anymore, or are those discontinued?
I don't know. I think they caught on fire because the gas tank was over the engine or something. Oh. But it's just so disrespectful, Halle. He's having all these what he calls holiday parties. He calls them ho-ho holiday parties. And the street is basically a water park now, a frozen water park.
Well, and somebody's going to get hurt.
Oh, somebody did get hurt. Clay stepped out of the car and immediately was upside down.
Oh no!
And cracked his coccyx.
Oh no!
His coccyx is absolutely pulverized.
We might be able to edit it out, but I'm not sure we're supposed to say coccyx.
Anyway, Halle, it's just been a challenging time, and it's so upsetting because I've had to really put up what I call a boundary between, and by a boundary, I meant I built a second fence on top of the fence that separates our houses.
Oh, good. You mean an actual boundary? Because if you were talking about like these interpersonal boundaries, I think that's kind of liberal.
Right. I mean, it's
in Christendom we don't boundary. We can pray a hedge of protection against the evil one, and we can excommunicate people, but boundaries.
Well, this does have a hedge on top of the boundary that that I put up. It does have a hedge and then a bunch of circular barbed wire because he just kept showing up, and I'm just like, how do you even get in here?
Wow, barbed wire.
Yeah.
It's like Gitmo around there.
What?
I don't know.
So,
but I will say, and not in Donovan Gio's defense, because I will never come to that man's defense, not at least until he puts some pants on.
Well, you're going to have to come to his defense because I think there's going to be some civil litigation. And I don't want to talk about it now, but I have talked to some attorneys just about what to do because soon, it's going to be just sue, I think is the only way to do anything.
Sue Harris?
No, sue him.
Oh, Sue Harris is in my book club. Oh. I mean, honestly, as a
I don't think Sue Harris is going to the solution for anything.
Well, yeah, and she's getting hit hard with the perimenopause, and she's very emotional.
What is that?
I think it's a time in a woman's life that is unmentionable, much like the way they used to treat pregnancy. Now they treat perimenopause that way. It's something that's unmentionable, that's unfathomable, that's unresearchable, that is not treated by the medical community. And it's a time in which a woman's body is maybe trying to get her attention, but since she's been taught to ignore it thus far for decades on end, She's certainly not going to start listening now. And so you ignore some uncomfortable physical manifestations that come about until they stop. And then if any younger women ask you about it, you say, I don't know. Everything was fine for me. And you kind of keep it in the dark ages. I recently, my son Day was telling me, I was talking about the dark ages as being, very dark because they didn't have a lot of Jesus back then. And so it was very dark. And Day said, Mom, do you actually think the dark ages were like darker, like there wasn't as much sunlight? And I said, well, certainly. And also I think it was that they were into some pretty dark pagan stuff. I mean, Jesus is the light on the mountaintop, not the dark. So I know the dark ages were not of the kingdom. And Day was trying to tell me they're dark because there's very little recorded. We don't have a lot of information. And and I'm like, well, that's most of history. You know what I mean? Because, women never knew how to read or write, so we didn't get any of their history. And, I think the oligarchs or the patriarchs or whatever were the only ones who could read and write. So there wasn't a lot recorded ever. I mean, that's why we first started church, I think, was because everybody was illiterate and wanted to know what was in the Bible, and only the leaders of the church knew. Which my son Day says is all about domination and control.
What does this have to do with perimenopause?
Oh, see, I don't know. I'm currently going through this very strange thing where I get brain fog and
sorry,
real
Halle.
hot.
I stopped listening. It did remind me though. Of part of the whole hot tub debacle with the Cybertruck is
the
that
jacuzzi in the Cyber.
Yeah, the jacuzzi was absolutely sloshing around, just the wettest jacuzzi you've ever seen. I've never seen a jacuzzi so wet. But I think Donovan Geo hired a drag queen named Perimenopause, and she was singing a bunch of the Christmas tunes.
What? Those are illegal in the state of Indiana.
Christmas tunes?
No. Perimenopauses and drag queens.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Goodness gracious.
That's why lawsuit is pending.
But I want to be very forthright that I am not coming to Donovan Geo's defense. I just want to say that there is something very fun about being in a hot tub when it's snowing. And we have a hot tub out back.
Well, you have a soft tub, Halle.
I have a soft tub, and I do all the chemicals and the chemicals for it.
Would you call that a hot tub, though? Because aren't they a bit, they're not like a full hot tub, are they? Because you have to sit on the floor.
They're just a little shorter. But I like it because you can lean against the soft siding, and I find it comforting. And it looks like a big terracotta pot out in my backyard. Well, Day and his friends just love it. I mean, they wish we used to have an above ground pool until one side of it collapsed. But Day would get all his friends. They'd climb up on the roof of the house, and they were jumping into our above ground pool.
Oh.
Talk about water going everywhere. Couldn't keep the thing filled up. Had to have a hose constantly hanging over the side of it. Eventually, one side of it collapsed, and all the water drained onto one of my Frenchies and Corgis. And so I got rid of it and grew grass in that spot. But now I got my soft tub out there. And I'll tell you what, the boys, a lot of Climax kids are hanging out in my soft tub. And boy, is it sweet when it snows. They sit there and they got a ½ inch of snow on their head while steam's coming off them. They like the contrast of being out in the cold, but in the hot water. They do all these challenges with each other where they're, jumping out of the water in nothing but their swim trunks, running out into the snow, doing snow angels with their bare bodies and jumping back in the soft tub. Then the temperature's plummeting on that thing. I got to get out there and crank up the heat because they're putting their freezing cold snowy bodies in there. And I just wanted to give a shout out for how cool it is to be in a snowstorm whilst in hot water. I feel like that's what's going to be in my mansion in heaven. I'm going to definitely I'll have a full hot tub there because you can have anything you want.
Right.
So I'm going to have a big old hot tub, and I'm going to order up snowstorms because I think it's cool.
Well, Halle, maybe we should get into some of the suggestions given to us by our Patreon members.
Well, I was going to ask,
Yeah.
did you and Clay end up putting a tree up? Because I know with his cracked tailbone, it might be hard. And you had said that you were going to be decorating a tree, but that maybe you had gotten to an argument about whether that was pagan or not.
Well, this is the whole thing. We didn't really get into the whole is a Christmas tree pagan, because I do think that Christians can make anything about Christ. And I think we've shown time and time again that when, something from history comes up that Christians do better, that it's completely fine to appropriate that and make it into something for the kingdom of God. I don't care about the history of Christmas trees, guys, because all these teens that, are always saying like, oh, actually, that was a tradition that came, from Europe and wasn't really a thing, around Christmas. I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? It wasn't a tradition either. Decorating a palm tree with a bunch of iguanas while drinking virgin mojitos. But that's what we do in Australia sometimes on Christmas Eve, right? So I don't want to get into the whole he said, she said about where Christmas trees come from. The question is, do we have one? Yes, we do. It's not decorated because when we were putting it up, this was the day before the whole coccyx incident. Clay slipped again and, absolutely pulverized his, I don't know what you call the front coccyx, but he was using one of those step ladders, and it's like,
oh no, putting up Christmas lights.
Yeah, so his whole pelvis is completely, just destroyed, Halle, and I was just like, well, the only way we can get to the bottom of this and fix it is get you back in the gym. So, but he said, I'm putting up this giant. He put up a 32-foot Christmas tree in the living room. Because, he's got those cathedral ceilings.
Cool.
And I said, I just said, it's too big. It's too big. I can't handle this. And he was like, well, we're going to do it. And I just said, no, I'm not decorating that. He said, I'll do it. He got up on a little step ladder. I'm like, it's not high enough. Of course, just went over the front of it and smash.
Oh, it grieves the heart of God.
It does.
Well, it sounds festive, and you know what? I got it on the top of my prayer list that God finds you your own condo soon. I know that you've been pounding the pavement trying to find a place to live. You're just crashing at your buddy's house because out of the kindness of his heart, he opened it up to you.
Yeah.
And also, maybe he wants a little help with Popsicles.
Well, Popsicles is with his mom this holiday season, and the only thing that he wanted, and I said, it's a bit cliche, but he wanted one of those, what do you call them? Like the horse that's like the size of a dog?
A miniature horse?
Yeah, a miniature horse. That's what he wanted.
Wow, that is so specific. So he could ride a horse around in his Y-fronts?
Yeah, and Clay got it for him.
Oh my gosh.
And it's got a chariot.
Well, you definitely, make sure he puts on pants if he's going to be riding a horse, because guess what horses have?
No, he rides
Fleas.
in a chariot, Halle. It's a little cart that's behind it, a tiny two-wheeled chariot cart. He just rips around the backyard in the snow. I think it's a bit weird.
Oh, well,
because he doesn't cut his hair now, and he looks like a wild child that is just like ripping around in a chariot. It's a bit odd, I think. But look, I'm not his dad. Clay, I'm like, Clay, this is your problem.
And Clay's not even his dad.
Well,
Clay's his granddad.
He basically is.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. I hope you're ready for the most dippable chicken in McDonald's history. Dip it in all the sauces. Dip it in that hot sauce in your bag. Dip it in your McFlurry. Your dip is your business. McCrispy strips at McDonald's.
Well, I'll tell you what, chariots are biblical. And, I love picturing those Egyptians on the chariots, trying to race down the open centered aisle of the Red Sea before God collapsed that water on them and drowned them and their chariots and their horses in a way that only God could do. Well, I also just wanted to point out, because you said appropriation. And this is a new word to me. And what I always tell my daughters and my son, Day, is whenever my son, Day, is like, Mom, you can't wear those moccasins. It's appropriation.
What?
I say, you know what, Day? Guess what? You can't say appropriate without saying appropriate.
Oh.
And if something's appropriate, I'm sorry, but there ain't no appropriate without appropriate. And so I think I can do whatever I want, because I've got those moccasins with the fur inside. And frankly, they're cozy and comfy.
Oh, is that what you're wearing today? I saw those. Oh, those are cool.
And they got some beads on the top, making the shape of a bird or something.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And, I can't get away with anything without my kids just jumping down my throat, telling me why I'm wrong. But I really got them on the you can't say appropriate without appropriate. And if it's appropriate, I'm doing it.
That is great.
So, any hoodles, Day is always, trying to tell me that decorating a Christmas tree is pagan, and I won't hear it, because you know what? I put on the Peanuts, Charlie Brown Christmas cartoon, where we hear loud and clear from God and Linus, and from a beautiful Christmas carol, Hark the herald angels sing. And Linus is saying, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. And they're quoting scripture, and they're decorating a tree. And it's appropriate, I think, to make a Christmas tree Christian. We have a huge one outside the auditorium here at Twin Hills.
Oh, yeah,
we've got them
amazing.
all over the children's ministry. We've got them up and down the hallways. We've got them, it looks like what they do at the White House with all the trees.
Right.
We've got more Christmas trees on campus. The atrium and the food court, the Manna food court, is just dripping with Christmas trees. Don't tell me they're pagan. I don't even know what pagan means. I just know that it's satanic. And I know that Christmas trees start with CHRIST. And that's
Awesome.
really all I have to know.
I've never really liked, the Peanuts, Charlie Brown, because I'm always like, what is wrong with that kid? He's only got 3 hairs that connect at each end.
Oh yeah, he doesn't grow hair that well, and Lucy's
Well,
always
clearly not, but it's like a rainbow hair. It's like 3 strands of hair that connect at each end. I mean, that's got to be a condition of some sort.
I've got the Christmas spirit, and is there something? Does Australia have an equivalent of peanuts? Like maybe it's just because you didn't grow up with it. What do they do to replace peanuts over there?
Well, Peanuts is actually based on an Australian comic. Do you know about this?
No, what's that?
Oh, have you never heard of the Cashew Crew?
The Cashew Crew.
Cashew Crew.
Cashew Crew?
Cashew Crew.
I love
Crew.
cashews, especially with a lot of salt. Oh, I love them covered in dark chocolate, milk chocolate. I'll even get a yogurt covered one. I love cashews.
The whole thing about Cashew Crew, though, that was, a bit ahead of its time was it had kind of a central character, kind of like Charlie Brown, but he was more into solving crimes and executing justice upon those who, were society's most illicit, terrifying, and dangerous criminals. So it was a group of kids that was essentially an assassination squad that would go around and, essentially take out those who stood against God's justice.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was still cute.
Well, speaking of...
And pretty dry, actually. Kind of the same dry delivery and things like that.
Well, speaking of Australia, I was wondering how you felt. We never talked about this, but in our leadership meeting this week, when Steve kind of called you out and said that your Australian accent had been getting watered down and maybe getting a little Americanized, and he said, do we need to send you back and get it topped up and get it back into the, I think it is a very high value to mega churches far and wide to have Australian people in leadership so that the world knows that we are committed to diversity, and we are international, and we have cool, good-looking people who talk cool. And, I think Steve was just looking out for you, but I wasn't sure if it hurt your feelings or if you need to start taking some accent classes or what.
Well, there's nothing that Steve can say that would hurt my feelings, Halle, because I'm always open for feedback.
Awesome.
And I told him, absolutely. A lot of times I'll just be saying absolutely when he's giving me feedback before I even know what the feedback is, because I know whatever he says is going to be awesome. But as for the accent, the accent, I have to admit, I've been here for a long time. I do consider myself to be spiritually American, but I do think that it could always use a tune-up.
Yep.
And it's just one of those things, Halle, where, Australia is such a bummer of a place for the most part. So I don't really want to ever go back there. I never want to see my family again, and I don't really have any desire to go back there. But, I said, absolutely, thank you, Steve, absolutely, and was definitely down to what I would say heighten it or just, bring it back to where it was.
But if you never go back to Australia, how are you going to see your brothers, Ash and Silver?
Well, I don't really care about my brothers, Ash and Silver, and I don't know if I've ever actually said their names before. But, I
looked him up on Facebook.
You did?
Yeah.
They're on Facebook?
I just wanted to know more about you. Yeah, they're on Facebook, and they are.
Well, I'm not on Facebook.
Oh.
I got off Facebook.
Oh, should I get off Facebook?
Oh, yeah, Halle. Facebook is so lame.
Well, I just don't want you to feel bad, my brother in Christ, because honestly, it's just that you've been here so long, I mean, you've been in America now for, years and years and years and years.
Well, just a few years, because I'm not very old. But I do think that, Halle, I have a spiritual family.
Awesome.
And that's all I need. This church is my family. And I have amazing friends here that just felt like, I had a biological family. I've had to cut them out of my life completely because they're just not good examples of how to live a Christ-led life. And I don't really want to get into the types of things that Ash and Gray do and have done and continue to, Ash and Silva have done to, for, and against my career. But, essentially, Halle, all I'll say is what they do is their business, and I don't want to know anything about it or have anything to do with it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I go down to Nashville. I love it down there. You got Belmont College, you got Belmont Church, you got Christians everywhere. Christian music playing in all the stores. Even the people writing country music in Nashville, it's pretty Christian adjacent, and they're writing about Christian, very moral stuff, about good heterosexual relationships and all that kind of thing.
Awesome.
But I get down to Nashville just for a weekend for fun. And the next thing you know, I'm like, hey, y'all, what's happening? How are y'all doing? And I just have a Southern accent without even really even.
Was that, that was an accent you were doing?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell the difference.
Oh, really? My kids make fun of me. They're like, Mom, why are you talking like you're from Nashville? And I'm like, oh, am I appropriating?
Yeah, I could do a Southern accent.
Let's hear it. Say something Southern like, I just bought a new pickup truck.
I just bought a new pickup truck.
That is dead on.
Isn't that good?
That's dead on.
I have an ear for it.
So there's a country singer named Randy Travis or one of them, Jackson
Pollock?
Yeah. And Jackson Pollock has this song that goes, way down yonder on the Chattahoochee, it gets hotter than the hoochie coochie.
What does that mean? I've never understood that.
I wanted to hear you do that in a Southern accent.
What's that? Way down yonder on the Chattahoochee, things get hotter than a hoochie coochie.
That is uncanny, Gray. That's so cool.
I know. I mean, sometimes I'll do little voices. You know, a lot of times when I'm doing some of my characters and stuff for my teens, I'll say, you know, what if this guy came from Brooklyn, New York? You know, what if Jesus was from Brooklyn? And I'll do something like that, like, hey, I'm walking here, something, you know.
Oh, that sounds exactly like
And when
Brooklyn.
he says, when I'm walking here, of course, it's Jesus. So he's talking about, you know, I'm walking on the Sea of Galilee.
What about something from like London?
Oh, like pip pip cheerio, guys. Look, I've got tea and a bunch of what the heck do they do over there? I don't know, Allie, but I would have to think about it. But you know, a lot of people really love it when I do my little voices on stage.
What about something in a German accent?
You can stop,
that's like,
Hallie. I don't really want to.
Well,
I don't think that's how it would be, but yeah, I can do them all, and so I'm totally into that. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you to put me on the top of your prayer list because one of my daughters got a tattoo, and I have always told my kids that if they want to get inked, it's got to be Christian because I think Christian tattoos are super cool. I know you've got a bunch of them. I know it's cool to, you know, make a cross out of the, you know, nails that went through Jesus' hands or wrists or whatnot. Stuff like that that's symbolic of Jesus, I'm all for, even especially if it's permanent. You know, I'll even allow a Narnia tat, you know, because Narnia is basically the story of salvation and all that. But my daughter got a tattoo that it's a little confusing to me. She and her best friend Brandy got matching tats.
What?
And
is your daughter even 18?
Well, you don't have to be 18 if you're in a union, and as you know, she's in the welding union. And
I think that was a different kind of union they're talking about, Hallie.
The thing is, you know, in Indiana, because thank goodness, you know, we've got a Christian governor, we've got all Christian mayors.
Right.
Well, thank goodness now that Mayor Pete went up to the national level. Any hoodles.
Not for long.
I
Loser.
know he's going to come crashing down. But my daughter and Brandy, they say Brandy wants to be a hairstylist, which I'm all for, because if I have bangs and I have an asymmetrical cut, and that requires constant maintenance. It is tyrannical over here, and I don't even know what that means. But I'm excited about Brandy getting her beauty school license because, you know, she can help keep me in my locks.
Well, she's not going to need
fresh.
a beauty school license to get the haircut that your daughter has, because basically that just looks like somebody put a bowl on top of her head and cut around the bottom of it.
That is exactly how she cuts her hair. She puts a bowl on her head, but she does clippers around the edge, and she's got like a 2 on the sides. That is high and that is tight.
It seems like she maybe didn't even use a bowl, but maybe a colander, because at the top it's got all those little wisps coming out of the...
I know. I try to give her gel or like a hair wax, but she mostly is just throwing on some kind of a knit hat or beanie or whatnot, which I don't like because I think it's a little bit masculine. But anyway, hooters. My daughter and Brandy, they both got these matching like double scissor tattoos. And I think because Brandy wants to go to, you know, beauty school.
Well, what's the scissor have to do with your daughter?
I know. Well, I'm assuming that it's because, you know, she loves to work in a workshop. She has the like hammer loop on all her Carhartt pants and everything. And so scissors are just part of the outfit. She's got a little slot in her Carhartt overalls that you can put tools right there on your chest.
Does she even have scissors in that?
Well, she could, and that's what I'm assuming the scissors are for. So I don't know. And of course, I can't trust what she tells me when I say, what the heck are these double scissor tats?
I mean, Halle, I cannot believe that you would let your daughter get a tattoo without your parental permission. And I'm just going to have to give you some feedback right now. That is, you've got to make sure that you know every decision that your teens are making. And this is just one that I'm going to have to call you out as a brother in Christ and just say, I think you've slipped.
I mean, I'm really going to have to take it to the Lord in prayer. And you know what? You might be right. I'm feeling convicted in this moment. I'm a bad mom, and I need to throw myself on the mercy of his throne room.
Well, you should just be clinging to the hem of his garment unless that garment has been chopped up by a couple of pairs of scissors, because I think right now you've just got to make sure that you are being absolutely engaged.
Well, you can get them taken off with lasers. We could also put a really big, heavy, dark Christian tattoo over the scissors.
I have a new one, actually. Have you seen this one?
Oh, wow.
It's on my shoulder. It's just a circle, and it's got the words, in him I am made whole. And, you know, if you just, like, you can start it at any place, am made whole in him. See?
Oh, cool.
Whole in him I am made.
Oh.
You know, see, it's just awesome because no matter where you start, it says a different version of the same thing, and it's all around this hole.
That is so
Isn't that cool?
That is so cool. And, you know, I being a mom, you'll learn this someday when, you know, God brings a godly woman into your life to be your helpmate and you have kids.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited for that. And it's just bound to happen. And I'm really excited and just really praying every day because I know that God has a plan for me and the beautiful lady that he brings into my life. And I'm just really busy right now.
Oh, you're going to love it. I mean, you're going to have a wedding night. Oh, that's going to change your life.
Well, we don't need to get into that, Halle, because I already know, you know, I do not know the place or the hour, but I do know that it will happen.
Yeah.
And,
wow. Oh, just like God.
Yeah.
Just like the return. Well, I'll tell you this. God is a parent. You know? God.
Are you saying a parent?
He is a parent.
Apparently.
Because he has a son. And you know, we can connect more with our Lord and Savior, with God, the God of the universe, who also has to figure out parenting stuff. And it is challenging. I mean, it could not have been easy for God to make that decision to kill his child. I mean, although on many days I'd like to strangle some of mine, but you know, that's a way in which I can relate to God because we're both parents, and someday you'll be a parent. But I will say I'm getting sneaky as a parent, especially because, as you know, my son Day and my daughters are always looking for ways to discredit me and tell me that I'm old-fashioned and I don't get it and I don't know and I'm being inappropriate and I'm appropriating and all this nonsense. So this year I headed them off at the pass.
Oh.
Because Day was saying all this stuff about how, you know, it grieves the heart of God, but he says happy holidays and he wants to be inclusive of his brothers and sisters who might worship differently than him, et cetera, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Well, this year, you might not know this, but Hanukkah is on the first day of Christmas, or Christmas Day is also the first day of Hanukkah. I don't know what that means, but I do know that it's Jewish. I do know that, you know.
Well, the weird thing about that, Halle, is I've never seen a Jewish person play one.
Play what?
A Hanukkah.
Oh, the instrument?
Yeah.
Oh,
have you ever
point.
seen? I'm like, look, because like.
Well, I think Adam Sandler plays one.
Oh, really?
He does comedy videos. My kids love them. But the problem with that is they're laughing and entertained, and they think, you know, he's funny and he's SNL and he's all these things that they're supposed to revere.
He's not.
Or
He's
whatnot.
lame.
but he's also inadvertently teaching them about Hanukkah and all these different traditions that are not of the kingdom.
But I just don't understand, because it's like, yeah, they talk about Hanukkah all the time, but you just never absolutely, you just never see them play one. And I'm like, hey, you talk about it all the time. How about you pick one up and give us a little tune?
I mean, the tune could be...
I don't know, Hallie.
I'm Holly Laurent playing Hallie Labont, and Grey Haas was played by Greg Hess. Follow us and Mega the Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And if you really want to get out of hell free card, support us on Patreon. The link is in the show notes.